After spending some time in Fethiye, we came up with our list of things that we like about it, but also a few things that we don't, and that's the subject of today's video. Let's get started. If you've been following our story, then yes, you know by now that we are in Turkey, which by the way just changed its name to Türkiye, and we had two reasons for wanting to come to Fethiye. Of course, we wanted to come to enjoy the typical things a short-term visitor would experience, like the beaches and the food and the tourist type activities. But we actually had an additional purpose for coming, and that's to consider the idea of establishing ourselves here over the long term. We've been traveling the world for 4 years, and now we are looking to have a home base somewhere. So that brings us to Fethiye, and our list of things that we like and also things that we don't like about Fethiye. Let me start with the people here. First of all, our interaction with the people everywhere in Türkiye has always been good. Here in Fethiye, the friendliness seemed especially genuine. The locals appeared to us to be really laid back and easygoing and relaxed and playful. So our interaction with the people here gets a big thumbs up. Next up is the beaches, and I'll start with 𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗛𝗏 Beach, which is located up in the northern part of the Fethiye area. The thing we really like about this beach is that the water was warmer than the other beach that I'll talk about in a minute. 𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗏 Beach is a very long, a very wide, and open beach, so there's plenty of room for everyone. And the sand was really nice here, making it very pleasant for walking along the water. And the other beach is the Blue Lagoon. It's actually a bit outside of Fethiye. And the highlight of this beach is the beauty of the water. It starts near the shore being crystal clear, and then it turns into a stunning, deep, cool, bluish color as you start swimming further and further away from the shore. When you Google the Blue Lagoon and look at the photos from above, you see what I'm talking about. This beach has rocks instead of sand, and it's a little bit more crowded, so we made sure we arrived early enough to get a spot in the section of the beach where we wanted to be. We were planning to come to the Blue Lagoon just once, but yeah, we changed our schedule to make time to come back twice, so of course we're going to give the beaches here a thumbs up. Next is the food, and I have to start talking about the food with a shout out to a restaurant called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And here's what we like about it. Two things actually. First, the durum wraps that they use here are somehow different from all the others we've had in Türkiye, and I can't exactly be sure what is different. I think maybe they use thinner wraps but double layer them, maybe. And the second thing is the price of the food at this restaurant. In US dollars, it was like $2.75, and that's for a huge, massively heavy doner, fries, drink, and a dessert. Oh yeah, and there's a giant inflatable doner that sits outside the restaurant and waves at you while you're eating. And the second restaurant is 𝗙𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗬. It is in the Old Town, so it is a bit touristy, but the prices are good considering its location. The thing we really liked about this restaurant is that there's a wide variety in the menu. Basically every kind of Turkish food you can think of, yep, they have it here. The seating outside is very pleasant under a canopy of, I think, grapevines, making it cooler if it's hot outside. But yeah, we had good experiences with the restaurants here and give a thumbs up for the food in Fethiye. I'm going to talk about the cost of living next, and we were pleasantly surprised by this. It's not the cheapest place we've been in Türkiye, but considering it's a beach resort and very touristy, the prices seem reasonable to us. The little apartment we rented at the beginning of the high season and in the Old Town district was $35 per night. Our total spending for our short-term stay averaged $59 per day for the two of us. I'll put more information about the cost of living for a long-term stay in the description below. Keep in mind that the prices here, the inflation rate, and the exchange rate with foreign currencies can change drastically here. But at the moment, we think the cost of living gets a thumbs up. Walkability is important to us. We like to get around on foot as much as possible, and Fethiye is great for that. There are really nice and wide walking paths along the coastline, and they are great not just for getting somewhere, but also just going for a walk, which people like us do just for fun, believe it or not. We especially like the paths along the marina. It's fun to look at all the different kinds of boats, and the path at 𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗏𝗏 Beach is nice too. The bike lanes help keep the bikers and the walkers separated so they're not competing for space with each other, and so we give the walking paths in Fethiye a thumbs up. I'll talk about the weather next. It's nice. We like it. The winters are a little bit cooler and summer's a little hotter than we like, but hey, you can't have it all. The spring and autumn are perfect. Fethiye generally gets a lot of sunshine, and we think the overall weather deserves a thumbs up. Next is Fethiye's seasonality effect, and what I mean by this is it's very quiet here in the winter and very active with tourism in the summer. This drastic change in the atmosphere between winter and summer, I mean, it's a minor thing, but doesn't really appeal to us for long-term living, so this will be our first thumbs down. There is a cable car just outside of Fethiye in the 𝗟𝗙𝗓𝗚𝗘 area, and wow, what a great experience this was. The ride up itself is either thrilling or terrifying, depending on your level of fear of heights. There are great views over the coastline, especially around sunset time, which is when we were there, and even better views of the mountain ranges that surround the Fethiye area. And it's a little chilly up here at the top of the mountain, even when it's scorching hot down at the base in the summertime. Our experience on the cable car gets a thumbs up. The next thing I'm going to talk about is communication. Our Turkish language skills are pretty sad. We're trying, let me tell you, but turns out we had no need to worry because there is a lot of English spoken here. This can come in handy if, for instance, needing some type of medical treatment, or for me, I needed to get some repair work done on my laptop, and it was super easy to explain the problem, so communication is relatively easy and gets a thumbs up. Let's talk about the community next. I was telling you that communication gets a thumbs up, but there's another side to the coin. The expat community is large. We thought the expats themselves were very friendly, and we're expats too, so we have nothing against expats. But when the expat community is so large that it starts to modify the culture of the place, that's when we start to hesitate. Sometimes we felt more like we were in London, not Turkey. And if you're familiar with 𝗖𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗬 in Mexico, Fethiye felt to us a lot like 𝗖𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗬. Let me talk about the markets next. You of course have the big supermarkets where you can get all of the food in one place, but we prefer to support the local market sellers whenever possible, and that's why we like the Tuesday market that you see here. Once a week this market gets going right in the heart of Fethiye, and you can get beautiful fruits and vegetables, you can get clothing, household items, and really probably just about everything you can get at the grocery store. Of course, it might take longer because it means you have to make separate purchases instead of going through the checkout line at the grocery store just once. But hey, if you're in Türkiye, you shouldn't be in a hurry anyway, right? The local markets here get a thumbs up. There is a lot of history in the Fethiye area, and really all over this region of Türkiye. You're never too far from an archaeological site here. But let me focus on a site just outside of Fethiye called 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗬. The thing that makes this place different from most of the other sites is that the ruins aren't that old. This is a city that was abandoned just 100 years ago, and I won't go into a detailed explanation of what happened here because it's kind of a sad story, but it is fascinating to hike through the ruins and imagine what it was like living here. Visiting this site gets a thumbs up. One thing that I'll mention briefly is that there can be occasional power cuts here. They are sometimes announced ahead of time, so it's not a surprise, and they don't usually last too long, but this is one drawback to the Fethiye area. Fethiye has a dolmuş system that works. It is the answer to public transportation, and it's common throughout the entire country. Basically, it's a system of minibuses that go on a set route between 2 points, with those points clearly signed on the front. It's kind of like a bus system with some differences. I mean, a dolmuş is a minivan, so it's going to hold less people, but one of the advantages is that they run frequently, about every 5 minutes or so depending on the route. The prices are very reasonable, it's easy to pay, the stops are clearly labeled, the system is easy to use, and gets a thumbs up. Okay, you saw a lot of those thumbs up emojis, right? We like Fethiye. And our negatives might actually be positives for you. We think you would like Fethiye and the 𝗟𝗙𝗓𝗚𝗘𝗬 area if you want a relatively affordable beach resort atmosphere, and for the long term, you want a place where it would be easier to adjust with less of a language barrier and more of an established expat community. But we have one more place in Türkiye that we want to visit before deciding where in the country, if anywhere, we want to make our long-term home base. So subscribe to our channel so that you can catch that next video. Thanks for traveling with us.